so that we can move the meeting to this month because we want to be respectful for all of our members. Before we do roll call and go through all of that, Albie is asked to have the floor. So Albie, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As most of you are aware, some of you may not be aware, that Mobile Medic had a serious loss of a very dedicated EMS individual in our company. We lost a gentleman by the name of Ian Cooperstein. That name may be familiar to many of you, especially down in Rockland County, where they originated from. Barry Cooperstein was a chief of the fire department down in Spring Valley and moved up to Sullivan County and been involved in EMS and had their agency up in Liberty, New York. When Liberty closed and Barry got very ill, his son and mother, Barry's wife, took over the Liberty Ambulance, but they had succumbed to financial straits, and both Ian and his mother came to Mobile Medic and have been with us for 12 years. Last month, a little bit more than a month ago, Ian, myself, and one other technician contracted COVID from a patient that we were treating over at Bethel Woods at a pit bull concert. We were all very ill at the time. Ian was hospitalized and was in the hospital for over 3 weeks and had succumbed to that monster. We're trying to deal with it. Ian was the deputy director of operations at the basic level for us, a very dedicated individual and a very, very good boy. And we're all dealing with it in our company right now. And although a month has passed, 3 weeks, we're still having an awful time with it inside. I'm very thankful that I survived COVID, as well as our other technician, but Ian did not. At this time, I would like to have a moment of silence in his honor, in his memory of a real dedicated EMS professional. Thank you very much, everybody.
Albie, on behalf of the council and the members sitting here, and I'm sure everybody else on board, if you could just pass our condolences and well wishes on to the family, to your family and team at Mobile Medic. And goes without saying, if you guys need anything now in the future, don't hesitate to ask.
I appreciate that, sir. I will relay that to Julie and the rest of the members of our staff. Thank you.
Albie, this is Nick. Real quick question. Could you write up a little paragraph about him and I can just put it right into the minutes? Some background.
I will take care of that, sir.
Thank you.
And then we'll go off to you, Nick, for roll call, sir.
Thank you, sir. Nicholas Trio, present. Dave Violante. Here. Joe Siebert. Here. Tim Murphy. Here. Lee Sagendorf.
Still trying.
Okay, well, we'll see if she comes in. Tim Gilmack. Okay, Orange County, Michael Bigg. Rich Haley. Here. Wayne Chan. Here. David Grass. Here. Israel Knobloch. Frank Castnight.
I'm here.
John Hanson. Michael Witowski.
Here.
Thank you. County, Robert Cuomo. David Jacobson.
Here.
Denise Montana. Faith Martin. Steve Wigan. Sarah Baker.
I'm here.
Oh, thank you. Okay, Rockland County, Bernice Garati.
Here.
Thank you. Nick Ruskieski.
Here.
Tim Egan,
Here.
Desiree Leone, Glenn Alvin,
Present.
Teresa Hamilton.
He's waving to you.
Oh. Neil Dayan. BJ Leidner.
Here.
Sullivan County, Avi Bachman.
Present.
Oh. I need to be quicker. I have to figure these things out. Alex Rao,
Here.
Neil Meadow. Heidi Stack. Mark Strauss. Sean Lewis. Ulster County, Rich Parrish.
Here.
Kelly Nelson. Karen Perdine.
Here.
Matthew Goodnow.
Here.
Oh. Let's see. $24 altogether, including all of this, so we have a quorum.
Did you put Michael Big in? Because he's here. He just was having some problems.
Oh, by the way, 25.
We have a quorum?
We have a quorum, sir.
All right, it's an official meeting. Just for ground rules, since this is a hybrid meeting, what we are going to do is, unless it's a roll call vote, any motions that have to be approved, we'll assume to be approved to save everybody as a trying to unmute and mute. The only thing we're going to ask is for objections. So again, for those of you that have dialed in for us, we appreciate you dialing in. Thank you. We do have a great turnout here at the room too. We miss you. We can leave us next time. But if you have a objection or a nay vote to any of the motions, then we will record those. Otherwise, we'll assume that they're a positive vote going through there. So I need a motion for the approval of the minutes from May 19th.
I move the motion to approve the minutes be accepted.
We got a motion from Glenn Alvin and
Doesn't matter.
all right, let's move in. All right. So any comments, objections, corrections? Anything needs to be added to it? Okay. Any objections to the accepting minutes? Hearing none, minutes are read into the report. Vice President Fort, Mr. Parrish.
Okay, as the vice president, I've been sitting in on the ALS tag meeting. They've done a great job there. And transportation committee with the new folks expansion. Glenn's got a good handle on what's going on there. And I'm no longer with the hospital, so the Lower Hudson Valley. The Office of Hospital Emergency Preparedness asked me to sit on their committee as a rep for EMS. When I went to those meetings, nobody represented EMS, and fighting for what we needed. We still don't get anything, but participating in those meetings. And that's it for now.
All right, outstanding. Any questions for Rich? Hearing none, President's report. So it's going to be kind of a little more detailed because we have a couple of things that we need to figure out what we want to do. We can save it for old business, but we're going to need to address some aging problems that we have here at the program agency and at the council. And that's the inaction of New York State to follow up on any of the things that we've asked them to do over the last, this is now approached well over a year. We have an action, a CON expansion by New Windsor Ambulance that we were given guidance and direction from the state that they would be providing us with information. Every 2 to 3 weeks, we burn off another email and unanswered phone calls looking for directions to the point where this has become either obvious that we're not going to get an answer or we need to move forward with this. It's not fair to New Windsor. It's not fair to everybody else that's involved with this. Maybe this is a temporary solution. The state refuses to do it. So I'll bring it back up under old business, but we need to know where the council wants us to go on this. Because now we're to the point where do we start leaning on legislators? Do we start leaning on senators? Do we, look at council to write a letter to the state and say, hey, if the roles are reversed, we're required to act on things that come down from them, and yet here we are sitting, idly by and not getting any answers. So that's one of the things that I'm going to bring up under old business, but I'll save it for there. The second piece was at the Orange County EMS Council meeting, the Windsor ambulance was the impetus of it. And I can speak onto it if you'd like, but they penned a really poignant letter that was going off, that was directed to the Orange County legislators, and it was addressing some of the concerns that they had. We sent out a quick survey to the council to find out, and essentially what the Windsor ambulance was looking for was co-signers to go on with it. They had probably just under a dozen that already co-signed onto it, but they were mostly Orange County agencies. I felt that it was important enough and their issues were widespread across not only Orange County, but all of the counties that we serve as the council. Had Jeff put out a survey to members. Hopefully everybody got it. Had an opportunity to decide whether you were going to send back a response or not. It came back positive. We had Bill reach out to Michael and say that the Hudson Valley Regional EMS Council would sign on to the letter, because I think that it's that important that there's a show of support from not only Orange County but the rest of the council. Michael, can you unmute if you can and just kind of bring everybody up to speed with what you did or what your letter was? All right, we'll give an opportunity later and we'll come back to that, but just wanted to make sure that everybody was there. The second thing that went out yesterday, day before, there was a letter that came out from NYSERDA. Terry, I wish that you could dial into us and be able to kind of elaborate on this, because your representation on NYSERDA would be in there, but essentially NYSERDA penned a letter on to the governor as well as the Commissioner of Health, and essentially was outlining similar things that New Windsor had addressed to the Orange County legislature, but took it on a much broader basis. What we'd like to do is get the approval of the regional council to be able to pen a support letter to go up with that. NYSERDA already had a letter that came out and sent that out to all of the members to come back. That was penned by, I don't want to mess this up, the Delmar Bethlehem EMS ambulance service from the town of Bethlehem County, essentially supporting NYSERDA's efforts. Terry, were you able to get in? Still no? All right, we did send that letter out to everybody, looking to see what your opinions were. Jeff, what were the results of that?
We haven't gotten back.
We haven't gotten anything back. So we're kind of looking for the council tonight. And I have the letters here. I'll be happy to send them around. They went out as an email survey to you guys so that you can see them for those of you that have dialed in. What I'm looking for is either a motion to write a support letter going with NYSERDA onto this, or whether you'd like to stay away. I've got it here. You can pass it around.
I'll make.
But I'll open
I'll
for
second.
discussion.
Okay.
All right, so we have a motion from Mr. Parrish, seconded. Did we send the letter? Questions, comments, concerns, objections?
Move it.
All right, hearing none. All those in favor, we'll assume aye. All those, anybody objecting, chime in now.
Aye.
Okay, so that's going to be motion. We'll get a letter written of support and get that off and out to them as well. So those were really the big things that I wanted to bring up of what's going on. What I did want to do is take an opportunity to thank each and every one of you. Everybody's operating in some pretty extreme conditions as far as dealing with COVID, ramping up, ramping down, hospital delays, hospital shortages, underfunded, understaffed. Everybody's experiencing the exact same situation with various degrees, but I don't think that there's anybody in the room that can say that they're overstaffed and overfunded. If there is, you should be selling the model because everybody would be buying it across the nation. But the reality of it is you guys are doing a phenomenal work. Equally, I have to kind of lean back to you and remind you guys that you are the leaders and you are the people that are kind of expected to set the tone. And we have a couple of chair positions that are unfilled, and we're really looking for help in some of these positions. So we'll read them off later if you can help. It doesn't take a lot of time, it takes a little bit of time, but we're really looking for some really dynamic and we don't want the same three people doing everything, because what's going to happen is they're going to burn out. And they're just going to kind of throw their hands up in the air and go, enough is enough. So the more we can use your talent, the better we're all going to be in the long run. Otherwise, I have, it's the end of my report. Any questions? None. Treasurer's report.
We wrote 57 cents to $35,241.50. Rent was 11,353 cents. $10,817.05. We purchased the Dell laptop computer to replace Karen's desktop. VHI insurance cost us $1,026. $1,750. They take care of our website, for our housing, and maintenance. And the small miscellaneous expenditures. We did transfer payroll $30,000 in June and transferred another $36,000 August 30th. As far as deposits, we took in deposits from council vouchers from New York State for quarter ending June 30th, 2021, was paid in full of $9,121.04. The box submitted to AM Farm for open engineering program have been paid in full, $4,700. Pending for fourth quarter is reimbursement for program agency $81,492.16 was submitted 7/21. Approved payment. So bottom line is cents, contents and education, 53,646.27. Payroll has 22,085.15 cents. So total are $13,013.58. That's the bottom line.
Motion to accept the treasurer's report. Questions, concerns?
I just want to thank Bill for guiding this. It's a lot.
You're doing an outstanding job. Thank you.
Hey, Dave, can you get people that are talking in the room to talk towards the mic? It's difficult. They're coming in garbled and a little difficult to hear.
Thank you. Yeah, we'll do that. So everybody will just either come up to the front of the room or speak up a little bit. Put your outside voice on. Karen, did you have any questions about Wayne's report?
I didn't hear the bottom line.
You just repeat it loud for me.
Sure, please. The bottom line is total money on deposit, $143,013.58.
You good with that, Karen? Any other questions or concerns? Any objections? Motion carried. Regional staff report, Mr. Hughes.
Yes. Okay. As you can tell from the treasurer's report, we're financially stable at this point in time. We just have the one voucher outstanding and that should be paid shortly. We're going to start our annual financial audit very shortly, probably within the next month. One of the things that has happened is the REMSCO is no longer receiving a grant money from AMFAR. The $4,700 payment was the last one that we're getting from them. And we use that money to distribute the naloxone to EMS, fire, and police agencies throughout the region. It's my understanding that naloxone will still be available to us and we will still be able to order it and distribute it. It's just that we don't have any financial backing behind that. So one of the things that we're going to have to work out is how we're going to get the naloxone out to the agencies. At this point in time, we're looking at probably asking the agencies to come pick it up. So we can work on that, or we can, give me a call if there's a problem with that. We'll try to work something out. So, and if anything changes, I'll let you know with that.
But we're not going to have any financial backing for buying the naloxone?
We don't buy it, it's given to us, so we don't have to pay for the naloxone. So it's the distribution of it, the training of people.
Oh, that's where the
Another
info
part.
money comes from,
Right.
okay.
Right. And that does get expensive when we start shipping out boxes.
Right.
It's still could be $20 a
Right.
case that goes out. All the winners from the Hudson Valley Regional Awards were submitted to the state, but we haven't heard any results. I assume we'll hear something when we're up there on Tuesday. Since our last meeting, the Bureau of EMS has published one new policy and two Dear Administrator letters. So if you're not aware of that, just take a look at them on their website. One is patient EPCR reports being submitted, and that had to be done by July 1st. So I'm sure everybody is aware of that one. The other two are for EMS providers in vaccination and COVID testing and what they can do and can't do. And then there's a supplementary one for vaccination administration. So if you are in that arena right now doing that, make sure you're aware of all the rules and regulations that have it. The Bureau of EMS has started issuing their new EMS cards. Okay.
I want to make sure I get this.
I can give you a copy of it.
Okay, that's fine.
The Bureau of EMS has started issuing the new cards. They're very different from the old format. They now have QR codes on them, and they look different. So if you see those, they are valid EMT and paramedic cards. We have seen a few come into the office. Most of the cards are for new providers. The refreshers and everything, from what I understand, will get cards, but there's a pretty big backlog on that.
I just got one.
A refresher? Great. Good, because they said they were going to start it, but they said there's a backlog. Yeah. Transportation Committee, which I'm sure Glenn will touch on, has been busy with the New Paltz Rescue Squad expansion of territory, and we also have one from Margaretville Hospital ambulance corps. So I'm sure Glenn will go over those two. The REMSCO sent a representative from Rockland Paramedics to attend the EMS Leadership and Retention training program. I think Dave will cover that on the training and education. The regional office still receiving a lot of calls about providers, extensions, and information that is readily available to them in HCS. So by now, every EMS agency should have 2 people signed on to HCS. If you don't, give us a call, send us the information that we need, and we'll get you back up onto HCS. The Hudson Valley RTAC, which includes our region and Westchester region, met a couple of weeks ago, and they created 2 performance improvement projects related to EMS. One is the Regional EMS Transfer Project, and the second one is the Regional Blood Products in the Field Project. The EMS Transfer Project Subcommittee met on 9/2, and we discussed some topics like tourniquets, cervical collars, pre-hospital intubation. Really haven't gone much further than discussion at this point. The blood projects in the field met on 9/21, but unfortunately I was unable to make that. So I haven't gotten any feedback as of yet. Our next RTAC meeting will be November 11th at 9 o'clock, and it will be a WebEx if anybody's interested in attending it. The EMS Tree of Life Memorial was postponed to September 30th. For those that were unable to attend, it was a very somber and really sincere ceremony. It was very good. Many people mentioned the attacks on the World Trade Center as adding people to the wall, and COVID as being the second major event that happened within the last 20 years that caused us to fill up the number of slots. There are 99 stars on the wall, and this year they filled them up completely. We did have two people that were included from the Hudson Valley, and that was Salvador Mancuso from Blooming Grove Volunteer Ambulance Corps from April 30th, 2020, and Charles Victor Work from Wallkill Volunteer Ambulance Corps from March 8th, 2018. We are working on an ALS upgrade. Draft policy is being reviewed by the TAG, and the final draft should be available shortly. We do have another REMAC tag that's looking at the RSI, and it's been a slow start on that, but we are getting started and we should be looking at that very shortly. The Bureau of EMS is working to help hospitals that are being overwhelmed in their ERs. They've created a Drupal, which is a survey, online survey that agencies can report long waiting times at hospitals, and then the Bureau can address them if there's a lot of these messages coming in. So it is available. It's posted on our website for hospital delays. Now, we're not talking about a 5-minute delay or a 10-minute delay. They're looking at delays that are consistently 30 minutes to 45 minutes where the ERs are having some big issues, and maybe the Bureau could help them out with some of the stuff that they need help with. We also, the Southern Tier Program Agency created a Survey Monkey to determine the use and the issues of the New York State MURU application as compared to the New York State Collaborative application. The survey was sent out this morning, so anyone that didn't get it, please let me know. And if you did get it, please respond. MURU is the New York State supplied app that works on your phone. We've had some people using it. Some people have complained about some of the things being outdated. And if we don't know this stuff, we can't get it updated. So we want to know who's using what, if you're using Muru or if you're using the collaborative. The collaborative protocol app is paid for by the program agencies, and they're looking to stop having that out there. But if we have too many people using it, they're going to, we're going to sunset it a little bit slower.
Looks like they don't want to pay for the Muru app. I guess they want to charge everybody, right? Isn't that what I saw in the thing, that there would be an $8 charge per month for it?
I thought that was only for extra stuff. I thought the basic was free.
That's not kind of what I took away from it. It sounds like they want to eventually stop funding Muru and then have the users pay for it.
That was not the initial intent when they told us about it at the program agency meeting. Again, I'm sure this will be a topic. I'll be a. Okay, so maybe they're looking at it that way. Yeah. I'm sure it'll be a discussion item at our program agency meeting up in Albany on Tuesday. This is our meeting.
The state is famous for passing down unfunded mandates, I can tell you that.
Well, this particularly the SEMSCO looks at not doing that. I mean, they've actually turned down projects that were unfunded. So hopefully that this will not be an unfunded mandate. Yeah, it's definitely not a bad thing, but it does make life easier if you use it. The Vital Signs Conference coming up. It's going to be November 11th to the 14th. You can check on that in the Vital Signs website because it can be part in person and part electronic and digital. So take a look at that. Upcoming meetings, we have SEMSCO and CMAC next week, which is October 19th and 20th. We have our HB REMAC is November 1st on 2021. And the Hudson Valley RTAC is Thursday, November 11th. And our next REBSCO meeting is going to be December 15th. Yeah. That's my report.
Thank you, Bill. Any questions?
December 15th.
December 15th.
I want to get everyone coming, but that's the wrong day.
Heck no, that November 11th is Veterans Day.
When is that? That was the RTEC meeting?
Yeah, November 11th is Veterans Day.
Okay. I will pass that back to them.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments for Bill's report? All right, hearing none. Mr. Crutcher, turn it over to you.
Okay. On the 1st of June, the state of New York instituted a new schematron. And shortly after that happened, we started seeing a multitude of issues with imports, if the imports were actually successful. After working through the majority of those issues, a couple of new rules kicked in on 10.1, which has indeed created yet more issues. Since the 1st of June, we've had multiple meetings with all of the vendors. Agency leadership has been involved. The vendors have been working fairly diligently at getting the issues fixed. We have 4 meetings this week, and with any luck, we'll have those issues resolved. It's an ongoing saga, really. We're behind probably 16,000 charts, which sounds like a lot, and it is. It's a lot of data points that we're missing, but we will get them. It'll be imported as historical data, but not held to the New York State schematron, so everything will pass through. That being said, the next big change for NEMSIS is going to probably not occur for us until 2023. The state, in its infinite wisdom, has allowed the other states to roll that out first to see what kind of problems they're having with it before they cause those problems for us. The data that we do get looks really good. There's a plethora of information that we can Bill, if you want to view the share screen.
I don't know. Let me bring it up first.
From our website, you can access the performance dashboard for the region. The performance dashboard has been created in Google Data Studio. The process for bringing it into there is first creating a report within ImageTrend that brings me the raw data that I want to look at. And I take that, whatever cleanup I need to do for it before I take it over to Google, and then it's a matter of creating the charts. Google Data Studio is really fairly powerful.
Yeah.
Just look at the link there, Bill. No.
Oh, download that. I was trying to get it to share.
It's on there now, guys.
But once you use the Narcan data,
That's 2021 Narcan.
yep, that'll be fine. What I first looked at, and this is all year to date, and it's current as of this morning. The top graph represents months and the call volume broken down in 4-hour increments. So you can take a look and see which period of the day was the busiest for opioid overdoses. Everything is searchable by date. You cannot get down to the granular level of which agency did which call. I just don't feel that that is really helpful when you're trying to look at a regional picture. Otherwise, if you have 2 agencies that want to compare notes, we can work on that. That's not a problem. But I think it's more important to get the data out there for people to just become aware of volume-wise what we're doing. Most everything that you see, I have 2020 as a baseline, and all of the agents are the same. So you're not going to get confused going from 21 to back to 20 as you're doing the comparison. It's all set up in the same way, with the exception of the last page, which is the call volume by month, year, and county. So we can take a look. Bill, if you want to pop that last page up. I don't know why you got the thing blocking there. Oh, okay.
Put it on its side.
Perfect. We can take a look. I did a side-by-side month-to-year comparison, so you can just get it at a glance quickly. Bill, if you can scroll over to the right or scroll through to the left. If we take a look at June and we see where the numbers tank, that's when the schematron took effect. And that's seriously the damage that it did to the data that we see. Once we get it all imported in the historical side, we'll see those numbers come back up to where they're normalized.
So it took a hit in September. Too.
Yeah. Well, that was the second schematron change to fix the issues of the first schematron change. There is a pattern to this. What we're finding is vendors, the way they write the rules to interpret what NEMSIS wants, will sometimes conflict with a different state's interpretation of how their schematron is set up. Also, we discovered that if the state puts in a new rule that is supposed to kick in at a certain date and time, that's not necessarily the best way to do it. Because that caught some agencies unaware that that rule kicked in until after they had a lot of export failures. So
I know SOAC, I know, has been working with its vendor to resolve all the issues that the state created. We've been on the phone constantly with them to try to improve the, not having as many errors.
Yeah. It's unfortunately time consuming, but the process does work. So I would invite people to take a look at the dashboards. If you have anything else that you would like to see, let me know. We can create the report. I have quite literally hundreds of thousands of data points that we can look at. So if you want to compare and contrast something, we can probably do it. And once we get the data tag up and running, I'm hoping for some input there so we can start moving forward with looking at the data so that it will help the individual agencies. Most of what we find in there, if we take a look at call volume by day, by hours, a small volunteer agency could benefit from that data by seeing where the bulk of their calls are, not anecdotally, but substantiated with data to back it up. And that's where they have to start trying to get the crews set up, not on the hours where statistically and realistically they're not seeing calls. This in turn is going to help the commercial agencies not have to cover everybody else. We don't have enough resources left in the system. We don't have the resources we had 20 years ago. We need to start taking a look at the data and using it effectively to manage the resources that we still have left and would like to preserve. Any questions?
Thank you very much. Very good. Again, a great tool, great asset. Please take advantage of it. A lot of time and effort went into creating that. And it can only get better with your input.
Is that one? Got it.
Good. All right, we're going to move on to
Can I have-
committee reports.
give
We'll
you
start
one-
with Mr. Violante and Trade Committee. Oh, never mind.
Just one interruption. While I did get a chat message from Dave Jensen saying that the RTAC meeting was scheduled for 11/4/21, so that it's not on Veterans Day. Okay?
All right, is everybody clear on that? Our TAC meeting was moved to November 4th at 9 o'clock. Thank you, Bill. All right, now we'll move on to Mr. Gallanto.
Hey, Dave, you guys can hear me okay up there? No, perfect. Okay, good. Liz Donnelly's returned to the office. She's slowly getting back into doing things. So just give her a little bit of time and patience as she goes through the instructor renewals and applications and upgrades. She's going through those though. First sponsor renewals are out and are due on November 30th. And they have to include at least 6 months of planned courses moving ahead. And so in addition to that, the Bureau is now going to require that the regional councils submit training plans to the state that identifies the courses, dates, times, and levels of trainings happening in each region. If a course sponsor does not do that, the state may not approve courses that course sponsor wants to do because it's not in the regional training. So realize that is coming down the line. Additionally to that, and the Department of Legal Affairs has advised the Bureau that they don't believe the limitation of a course sponsor to a county is legal. And so at the moment, that's up in the air in decision as to whether course sponsorships can only be in counties where they reside. So that's still being worked out. The state has looked at information about distance hybrid learning versus in-person classes, realizing that there's a good reason why we did it. It worked to some extent, but there are lower scores on state exams. Part of that is because of the distance learning component. Part of that is because folks were waiting too long to take their exam from when they finished the class. And so if it's possible to do as much in person, that's great. But if you need to use a hybrid environment that sort of works, then just use it judiciously. Gene Myers requested that CME coordinators from agencies really closely review the paperwork that's being sent to the state. There are a lot of errors in that paperwork, especially with CPR cards that are expired, courses that don't match up, and other clerical errors. Those are some problems. So please pay close attention to that when you do your renewals. At the same point, Gene Taylor is asking CICs to check their paperwork because there's incorrect information for email addresses, all that kind of stuff as well. So those are some state issues on training that came down the line. As Bill mentioned, Vital Signs is coming up November 11th to 14th. It's in person and hybrid. At the regional level, we are looking at doing the CIU and have information or gathering information about doing the CLI or CIC for sponsorships. We're going to try and get those off the ground here this last quarter, hopefully. If not, then we're going to have to move into early next year. Back in August, I think it's the 17th to the 19th, we were blessed to have Jessica DeLuca attend an EMS supervisors leadership training that the state provided. The state provided it free of charge for the actual training component, and the region reimbursed her for travel expenses up to $500 for the 3-day event. And that is a trainer event. She also did the mental health trainer event. So she is going to be rolling out some of those courses here throughout the Hudson Valley region, and has teamed up with a gentleman from the Westchester region to also provide those courses. So the two of them are going to tag team some of that stuff here and around. That was the point of doing this training up at the state, and why the region felt it was important to support her in being able to, at the last minute, decide she can do this and go and represent. That's about me. So we thank Jessica tremendously for what she's done and look forward to the training she's going to provide. I think that is about all I have for training, and Ed, I'll talk about the other stuff from the state. Unless there's any questions.
Questions or concerns for Mr. Dillon? Hearing none, we'll move on to Dr. Papish. Mac, helicopter protocol.
Hey, y'all. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. The last REMAC meeting, the big topic that we discussed was the stroke destination guideline, which we finally approved. We've been talking about this for about 1.5 years, I think, probably longer. And we voted to adopt the SLAM's criteria for large vessel occlusion stroke. It's very similar to the Cincinnati stroke scale, except it has one more step. And the idea being, if there aren't any exclusion criteria, which are delineated in the guideline, patients that have enough signs and symptoms of a large stroke would get transported or by default to the nearest endovascular center, as long as it wasn't outside of 30 minutes from the location of the call. So the next steps with regarding to that are we're creating a video training program, and there'll probably be an online quiz, and that educational plan will roll out hopefully before January, which is the anticipated start date of the guideline. The educational program is still being worked on. And that was the main topic from the REMAC. On the subject of stroke, there's just one other thing I wanted to pitch out that you guys could pitch out to everybody. All hospitals that are stroke centers require, for any stroke, code strokes in the emergency department, that there be documentation of the Cincinnati stroke scale for stroke, or any stroke scale really, but we use Cincinnati stroke. And so I would just ask you to tell your agencies to please make sure they're documenting that. In order to stay a stroke center, you get audited. And one of the requirements is that we're able to get that data from our pre-hospital partners. So this benefits all stroke centers. It's not really a Mid-Hudson plea, but if you could please just remind everybody to, if anybody is bringing in a stroke, a TIA, anything stroke-like, even an altered mental status, putting the stroke scale in helps us. The rest of the REMAC meeting, the various usual items were discussed, and then the last thing was interesting in the sense that it's not anything new to you guys, but the shortage of ambulances in general has really impacted the interfacility transport process within hospitals at this point. And the last third of the REMAC meeting was a discussion about that, which is important for us because, up until now, we've at all of these meetings talked about the problems EMS faces, but it's finally affecting the hospital side, which it's bad, but in a way it's good because it's more people that are going to now lobby for change. And so hopefully that will increase the amount of pressure on the legislative arm of New York State to make some changes for the better. That's really what we discussed at the REMAC. Any questions? That's all I got.
It looks like there was a comment. Dave Jensen, you want to take the microphone, or do you want me to just read off your comment?
Oh, I can't see.
I just wanted to reiterate what Dr. Papish said about documentation of strokes, to please make sure that you also include the last known well time in your documentation, and make sure that when they're doing the documentation, it goes in the flow chart and not the narrative.
Thanks, Dave.
Perfect. Any other questions for Dr. Papish? Actually, I have one. Do you know what the status is? I know when Cuomo was still in office, we hadn't signed the legislation. Has the new governor given any indication of whether the blood transportation aboard helicopters is going to be signed? Where that's at?
I thought it was signed, but don't quote me on that.
It-
Find out
Dave,
for sure.
Dave, it was brought up at Stack today.
Okay.
It is in the governor's office waiting to be signed.
Steve,
Or
you're-
no news.
Steve is still on? I'm not seeing him. He was there. I don't see him. He was leaving. Okay, yeah, I remember it. Everything went through the state, went through everything, and then it went to the governors, and then Cuomo got busy dodging bullets and didn't sign it, and hadn't heard whether the new governor was going to sign it or not. So,
Looks like it might have fallen into those black holes.
understood. Boy, we know how that works. So don't. All right, we'll get to that later. We're going to pass it off to the Transportation Committee. Mr. Alvin.
Yes, so we did meet and discuss the New Paltz thing. We sent a letter back to them requesting some more data from them, trying to guide them in the right way to seek assurances from their regional areas, such their EMS coordinator, their dispatch centers, and we're waiting for them to respond back. And as far as the other one, I think Bill's going to have to help me out on that one. The Margaretville one, where are we at with that?
Well, Margaretville ambulance was requested from Westchester Medical Center for interfacility transports between hospitals. And they had asked for a full regional CON and actually was going to cover a couple of other counties besides our region. And they took it back and we discussed it, and then they discussed it with Dana Jonas a little bit. And they kind of took it back to say, let's rethink about it. What they want to do is look at individual properties so that they're not going to be as much, they won't be able to be in competition on the 911 side. It's just going to be interfacility transports from one property to another, one hospital to another hospital to another hospital in their network. And they're going to reword that.
So they're sending it back to us, right? That's
Yes.
everything.
But they have not done that yet. I spoke with them last week, and it's just kind of fell to the back burner right now because there's some other things on their table. But that it should be coming forward very shortly.
So we're not letting things fall into the black hole. We are active. We are, when stuff come in, Bill keeps me informed, and I try to keep the committee informed. But yeah, we don't let things go to the back burner. We're on top of both of those.
And you guys do a great job. Unfortunately, your hands are tied right now. Obviously, we'll come back to that on the whole business. But any questions for Glenn on the Transportation Committee?
Not a question, but more a comment for the Transportation Committee. One of the questions that I think we need to probably ask, so we don't end up in a situation where it becomes a hot potato being bounced back and forth from the region to the state, is that my understanding, and again, my understanding could be wrong, that they no longer issue specific CONs for non-emergency, and that it's basically an ambulance certificate for ambulances. So there is no restrictions on those ambulance certificates. So if they give an ambulance certificate from a point A to point B, whatever's in that point A and point B is considered a full-fledged ambulance certificate. So there's no changing it, whether it's 911, emergency, non-emergency. All of that stuff is not in regulation and it doesn't exist. So you may want to make sure that that's all clarified too, because otherwise we're going to send up something that's going to be defective, and it's going to get kicked back to us, and around and around and around we'll go.
Yeah, didn't we go through that with the,
Rich, just let them know.
yeah, didn't we go through that with the other Duchess Ellenville? That's all we wanted, which was that, and yeah, it kept where it came up there.
again, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but I've never heard of them issuing a CON for a facility. Yeah, it's always a township or a municipality or a geographic area. I've never seen one so narrow as to be the campus of one facility.
And I actually believe, David says, I believe it's a geopolitical lines is what I think what they go by. So I agree with you. I don't think there is such an animal.
Doesn't mean they won't interpret it with the latest council. So we'll see what happens. But thank you, Michael. That's a great point. Any other questions for Glenn and the Transportation Committee? Again, Glenn, to your team, you guys are doing a heck of a job. Thank you very much. Keep up the great work.
We will.
Our public information and education, as well as our policy and procedure committee, and I'm just going to group it in because it's down under old business. The Vision 2025 tag are all in the chairs, ladies and gentlemen. Again, I don't want to sound like the Grim Reaper, but the only way we advance ourselves and we advance the region to stay on top of things is to address these things quickly and as efficiently as possible. To do that, we need people to be on these committees. We need chairs for these committees. I'd also, again, without sounding like a broken record, remind you that you all voted here not too long ago to require that each one of the members, delegates and alternates, be part of the committee. So please, which one you think would be best, get a hold of Karen, get a hold of Bill, and we'll be happy to get you guys on it. We'll be happy to point you in the right direction. One of the things that we don't want to do is tell you how to run it, because then you're not the chairman of that committee. So we'll be happy to give any support and guidance and resources or assets that you need that we can afford. But we'll definitely support you in any way. So please, I need everybody to step up and help out with these committees. That's going to take us down to legislative and bylaws. Mr. Bachman, are you still on?
I am here, sir. Is my voice loud and clear?
You are, sir.
Outstanding. Very proud to announce that I have no action from anybody for changes to our bylaws or any amendments, and that is excellent news. A part of the legislative committee here is anything that deals legislatively, whether it's local, state, or federal. And one thing that that we've been dealing with legislatively, locally, is the ALS upgrade that Bill mentioned in his report. If I may at this time, Mr. Violante, since you chair the ALS committee, upgrade committee, could you please educate everybody as to what promulgated the TAG committee to be formed, namely that letter that we received from the department, and where it has progressed with our meetings and ultimately ending up in the hands of the REMAC.
I don't know, Albie, it sounds like you're doing a great job so far, buddy.
I'm not going to let you get away with it, Dave. I have to say that you led the committee wonderfully, and I really would like you to just briefly give us an update on what we did. I appreciate that.
So our ALS upgrade committee met probably a dozen or more times to hash through the process of the ALS upgrade. The state said that we are arbitrary and capricious in how we rolled out the upgrade process. And so we took a look at the document. We attributed every sentence and paragraph to public health law. And then we decided we wanted to make it a bit more efficient and appropriate. So we decided to split the document into an application and an optional system assessment so that a new organization going from DLS to ALS in some capacity would have the ability to really look at the EMS system and understand a little bit better through that assessment. But an agency that had been doing ALS for a while, even in another place, and understood the area, didn't necessarily have to do that component of it. That optional assessment would go to REMAC to help those folks make a better decision about approving the ability of the agency to operate in the region. Now, We took out a number of CON-ish issues like a public hearing and that sort of thing, and just decided to have an agenda item for REMAC so that the agency and any other agencies that wanted to speak could so at that time to REMAC. And then the REMAC makes a final vote on the issue about an ALS agency being able to operate in the Hudson Valley region. Not that they can be an ALS agency or not, but whether they can operate within the we went through the parameters, talked to the REMAC committee, went back to finish the document out, discussed it a little bit more vehemently at times, and came to a final consensus. It'll now go to REMAC on November 1st for a final vote. And I believe that Pam and Mark are going to be discussing it with the other regions as well of the state from whence this began. So I would really like to thank the entire ALS upgrade team. They did a ton of work. We had a bunch of meetings and came up with what we believe is a pretty good process. Passionate meetings, indeed.
Now you know why, everybody. I wanted Dave to speak. Eloquent and thorough. Thank you, Dave.
Thank you so much.
We mentioned the last time we had our meeting about vaccinations for all healthcare workers. It dealt basically with facilities only. I just want to put you on alert that the way our present administration is doing things, that it's only a matter of time that it's going to affect EMS. And they're going to mandate all EMS workers to get vaccinated. So just beware for those of you that have not in your agencies. We urge everybody to get vaccinated, but sooner or later they're going to mandate the way we see things happen across the country. Also, legislatively, there was a bill for the Department of Health Rural Health Care Study on looking at rural EMS agencies and the difficulties that we're seeing across the state of New York. That bill has not been signed. It's on the back burner. Reaching out to my legislators here, Assemblywoman and Martucci, there's no action yet on that committee. So hopefully we'll see it soon. Talking about administering vaccinations, Senate Bill S7366 is authorizing EMTs and paramedics to administer certain vaccines, including the COVID-19. It's in the Senate Rules Committee right now, and also in the Assembly as A8280, and it was submitted in the Senate on September 3rd. So although they've been talking about it, and I know it's being done in places, the bill is not finalized nor signed yet by both houses and signed by the governor. Further, another bill that is very interesting is Senate Bill 1114A. 1114A, which is classifying crimes against EMS personnel as a hate crime. This is different than the bill that was passed a couple of years ago, charging people that assault EMS personnel with assault crimes. This is different in the sense that it deals with anyone that attacks an EMS personnel may be considered a hate crime. And that is it passed the Senate, and it's also paralleled by the Assembly, and that went before the Senate January 6th and passed January 6th. But we have not seen any action from the Assembly on that, and it's still being held in committee. Last thing I have for you, again, legislatively, talk about our new governor. Our new governor signed let me back up a tad bit. As you both know, as you all know, both houses are democratically run. There's very, very little movement on EMS right now, because I search bills on both houses constantly, and we don't see anything new. The troubles that we see in the state of New York, the transition of Cuomo to Hochul, and just nothing really being done across the state of New York on many issues. EMS is on the bottom of the barrel. And we see that with funding and everything else that's going on. But in her wisdom, she did sign 5 bills that deals with overdoses. And of course, we are facing overdoses all the time. I'm sure your agencies are seeing overdoses on a daily basis. As I do as a coroner up by me, we're averaging 15 to 20% of all deaths every month in this county of Sullivan is related to the opiate crisis. So she addressed opiates, but it's very interesting in what she did. The first bill that she signed decriminalizes the possession of opiate antagonists like Narcan. Okay, that's fine. Second one is establishing a program for medication-assisted treatment for incarcerated people in our prisons. I have sympathy for everybody that's on this earth, but when we have such an amazing problem in our state, in our region, and we're not addressing that at the ground level of where we are, but addressing it inside the prison where they are confined and can be treated satisfactorily in there, not getting them out into the open. I'm a little confused with that. Of course, this is my opinion only, and just speaking for my constituents in EMS, and nothing's being done on the ground level for us. The third bill decriminalizes the possession of hypodermic needles. I don't know, whatever. And then a directory of the distribution of Narcan, which we already have in existence. I watched the conference that she had on this the other day in Albany, and I don't know. I don't see where it's helping us or the people that we're treating on the ground. With that, sir, that is my report, Mr. Chairman. Thank you very much. Any questions you have, I'm here.
Thank you, Albie. Any questions for Albie?
Repeat that, sir.
Asking if anyone had any questions for you, sir. It appears not. Excellent report. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Awards Committee. Desiree. Still on? Yes.
No, I'm here. I'm sorry.
No problem.
The awards, it was a low submission this year, which is a shame because a lot went on for EMS. What I'm hoping to do is maybe send out emails every other month to the agencies throughout the region, just to kind of keep it in their mind. So if they have something, they can submit it. If they've got multiple for one category, then they could always, pick from them at that point. But at least while things are fresh in their heads, they can get it submitted so we can have more of a pool to draw from for next year. But other than that, Vital Signs will be choosing their winners this Friday. So we'll just wait and see if any of our winners are chosen, and that's it.
Outstanding. And just in case anybody missed it, Desiree, and I'm not the one to put you on the spot here, but do you have all the nominees?
I'm sorry?
Do you have a list of the nominees that the Hudson Valley submitted to the state by chance that you could just share with the members?
I'm sorry, I don't have it with me, no.
Bill, do you have it by chance?
Somewhere.
We'll stall for just a second while we see if we can pull it, just so that everybody here knows who the Hudson Valley submitted to the state for the award winners. Obviously, if it was your county, you're aware of that because it went back to you already. The other county, so that you can share with it.
Question.
like a damn dog.
You want me to read them?
Could you?
Agency was Woodbury. ALS provider was Van Buren. BLS provider was Marshall. Educator was Casey Quake. Physician of excellence was Hidalgo. Quality and safety was Kingston Fire Department. Leadership. Was that Rothschild? I gotta open that one. It's leadership.
Leah, what's it? I don't know. Rothschild.
Leah Rothschild. Communications was Mayor, M-A-I-R. BLS provider was Marshall. Nurse was Taylor.
That was communications, Peter Mayer.
Peter Mayer was communications.
Oh, we already did that.
Youth provider. Youth provider was Finney. I don't know who they're from. That's it.
All right. If anybody'd like a complete list, just send Karen a quick email. And what we'll do is we'll get that out to the committee so that everybody can share it. Because again, I think it's important that, in years past, the Hudson Valley has been gracious enough with the talent and the awards that a couple of years dominated the entire state. So hopefully we can do that again. And again, to Desiree's point, the only way we can do that is when you guys submit the nominations back to your county councils. County councils put their nominations to the region then takes and runs it through, and then it goes to the state. So it requires everybody to come up through us.
That's what I said, sending out reminders by monthly may help.
Okay.
When you get it in May, you don't remember by that.
Okay. So again, we can be our best advocates, to your point, Nick. And supporting the people that are, the backbone of this community is the way that we encourage more people to come in. So I would definitely be wholehearted for that. David, according to the agenda, we're back to state council. I'm not sure what you've got, but I'll yield it back to you since state council meets next Tuesday and Wednesday.
Yeah, we missed Tim.
We missed Tim Egan with me. That's because I marked it. So we will go back. Thank you very much for correcting that. Mr. Egan.
Hello.
And I apologize.
No worries. The only thing I had was that New York Mobile Integrated Healthcare had their third annual community paramedicine conference back on September 17th. It was pretty well attended, and it was very informative. It was a very good conference. I don't know how many people from the region got to attend. I know there were a few, but it was a good program. Other than that, I don't have anything new to report.
What was the date and the group audits?
That was on September 17th. New York Mobile Integrated Healthcare.
Integrated Healthcare?
New York Mobile Healthcare Association out of Mount Sinai.
Okay.
I don't know how many of you people are fans of Chicago Fire, the program, but they mentioned community paramedicine at the last show. That blonde-haired lady that's a paramedic brought it before her fire chief, and they shot it down. But they're not stopping there. They're going to move it forward. But obviously, it's out there, and I just hope it happens. It's to me, it's our future, and but it was just interesting that they brought it up on that program.
Tim, I have a quick question. I know
Yes,
under
sir.
2020 executive orders, the community paramedicine expansion was with several agencies that had come on board. With expiration of the original executive orders and then the reissuance of new executive orders, are these agencies still able to provide their community paramedicine currently, or is that, where does that stand? So,
That's a good question. I don't think the executive orders are allowing what they did before with vaccinations and everything, but the original CP, there are, I believe, 58 programs throughout the state that are approved by the Bureau right now, if I'm not mistaken. So they're still functioning as they were, including ours.
Just this week, I got an email from Ryan Greenberg, and it says, we are working on a project to try to ensure each county in New York State has at least one community paramedic program per county. And below is a map showing the area. And it says, we're asking program agencies directors in our county EMS coordinators to help identify, to get online an agency in your county that could fit the community paramedicine program. These community paramedicine programs have shown to be great value for local county-based initiatives and help increase safety. And it shows a map of it. And when you look at the map, all of our counties are dark blue, which means we have community paramedicine in those counties, except for, I believe it's Sullivan County out here. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure if there's an agency that you want me to recommend. They said feel free to share any recommendations with Deputy Chief Mike Bagosi, who oversees community paramedicine programs. It's michael.bagosi@health.newyork.government. So anybody's interested.
And Tim, to that point, is there any state or federal funding to assist an agency with implementing a community paramedicine program?
Other than ET3 and things of that nature, not that I'm aware of, but there is one other thing that came up last week. We and one other agency that I'm aware of in this area were reached out to that currently have community paramedic programs by the state. Apparently the governor is concerned because of the healthcare mandates with regard to COVID vaccinations that home health aides were going to be in very short supply, and they were reaching out to known CP programs to ascertain interest in the possibility of CPs functioning as home health aides, believe it or not. I didn't hear anything further on that, and I think that's, you know, a really slippery slope there, but I don't know what's going to happen with that, if anything, because, you know, we're next, as I believe it was Albie pointed out earlier. You know, sooner or later, we're going to be hit with that. And, you know, if we're going to be filling in for the home health aides because they don't have enough vaccinations, you know, with our staffing issues, I don't see how that's going to be a problem, or a possibility, rather.
So today, my health department, my health commissioner reached out to me. They were notified by the state health department that due to the shortage or the impending shortage of home health aides, that the state had told the home health aides there's three options. One, to align with community paramedicine programs and set up MOUs or, you know, staffing, whatever. The other option was to call 911. And then the third option was to reach out to the local ambulance corps that provide 911 to provide a wellness type of not emergent system within your counties. So I know she voiced her opinion that that is not possible, that is not practical, that is not whatever, but she reached out to me today. And so it just came out today to the home health agencies and to the local health departments. So they actually, our health department has to come up with a plan to assist them with doing this, but obviously she's in support of not using our 911 ambulances.
You know, all of a sudden that's okay. You know, that makes no sense.
Well, you know, this might be, I mean, it's not okay, and 100% it's not okay, but you know, they're the ones that have fought community paramedicine for so long.
Exactly.
Now,
That's what I'm
now they
talking
need
about.
it. So, you know, maybe we'll get a little bit more support. Maybe there'll be some funding attached to it, but they need to do it right. They can't just dump it at this point.
Yeah, actually, historically, home health aides or Home Health Care Association of New York, rather, originally was not in support of working with us for CP enabling legislation. But the following year, which was, God, about 6 years ago now, they did agree to work with us, and they crafted language with us that would enable paramedics to be able to provide paramedicine. But it was NISNA that stopped it later on. But in this particular case, I mean, we don't have the staff for that. I don't know anybody else that does.
Nope.
So I don't see it as I see it as a non-starter.
And I apologize for not keeping a poker face, but Desiree mentioned possible funding. I don't know where that's gonna come from, because we've been digging, scratching, and pleading for just a couple of extra dollars to, keep these agencies afloat and, keep EMT courses and paramedic courses afloat with people. There's no money for that. So where is this money coming from? But, okay, I'm off the soapbox. Tim, I apologize for forgetting you. Anybody for questions, concerns for Mr. Eby? Beautiful. David, we're back to you. Anything else on state council that you can foresee for next week?
Use, grade, whatever that is. So state council is the 19th and 20th. We'll have more reports after that. Just so folks are aware, there are two new committees. One of them is just looking at community paramedicine and other issues in relation to EMS and delivery of healthcare innovations committee, as it were. The other committee is the Quality Metrics Committee. I'm chairing that committee. We've met a dozen times also. And some of the mission of that committee is to develop and implement a statewide QI system, update the QI manual, establish evidence-based and patient-centered quality measures, to develop and monitor report data to the regions, to the state agencies, and then to deliver reports to CMAC, SEMSCO, and at the Vital Science conferences. And so we're moving forward with that. Talked with Jeff a number of times here at the region about data and how we can involve the regions a little bit better and involve QA at the local level better as well. So I think our manual rewrite will be able to help agencies of all sizes and capacities do that. So we're working on that. The other thing is that you all know Mike Benanati from LaGrange. He was asked to speak at the systems committee to talk about some of the issues with the EMS system now. And it's tough. It's people in their heart with their hearts in the right places trying to do the right thing. And at the end of the day, it comes down to the lack of people that are in the system able to do the work, the lack of resources in the system, and the lack of funding in the system, whether it's from Medicare, Medicaid, reimbursements, insurance reimbursements, where the insurance money goes, towns, cities, and villages funding or not funding their EMS agencies, and all of the things that happen there. So he's going to take information to the systems committee. He's using information out of the Dutchess report we did a number of years ago. The directions committee this region had and utilized. And we're going to hopefully help to work with the systems committee to do more than just CON approvals and direction that way. So it's good that we're going to have some more voices up there, but at the same time, we need to have local voices with our local politicians and folks in the system. Because you have to have a grassroots up and a top-down approach at the same time. I don't think that our politicians know how EMS works or runs, and quite frankly, they don't have to deal with it. And even the people that are in the community don't have to deal with it until they need the ambulance and they wonder why it's not there. Talk to any of the dispatchers. Frank can tell this as much as Mike up in the 911 center in Ulster County and the area of Dutchess and around, services just not getting out at all. So if you want to go to the hospital, you're gonna have to go yourself or get an Uber, And so these are issues. So know that we're going to have these discussions at the state and as well, and hopefully some more work can be done at that level, and we'll just report back. Is there anything that folks here and or online would like me to bring up to the state as well? Please let me know.
Anybody have anything off the cuff? Okay, if you want to take a couple of minutes and think about it. Again, meetings start out on Tuesday morning and they run through Wednesday afternoon. David won't wave his own flag, so I will for a few minutes. To be asked to chair a brand new committee at the state level is a huge burden, a huge undertaking, and a definite level of respect that you've earned CMAC Central level, because again, this is a statewide program. David has the I don't know if it's the privilege of chairing it, or just doesn't know how to say no. Either way, it's huge for us here in the Hudson Valley to be able to deal that kind of insider information, to be able to sit and have discussions and try and steer what it is we do, not only here in the Hudson Valley and our local region, but also at the entire state level. So congratulations, thank you. It's a lot of work. I know I watched this. Thank you. Good job, well done. Lots of good work, don't quit, because I don't want to do it. All right, I guess we're ready to go into old business. I don't see Anthony on there. Did I miss him signing in when we were there?
No, I would see him.
As far as the leadership, all right, so we'll back to Anthony. Obviously, as I mentioned before, we still need a chair for the tag division. Just as a quick reminder, what we did was put that together last year to really look at where we've been as a regional council and where we want to go over the course of the next several years. And the only way to do that is to really sit down with a bunch of really talented, dynamic, energetic people and dream. And that's really what that committee is designed to do. Dream. Then send it back to the council. Then we'll figure out what we can afford, what we can do, and then we'll put the rubber to the road and see how we steer what it is we've done. This region has been infamous over the years of steering state policy, whether it's through education, whether it's through systems, whatever it was. Had some really dynamic leadership with some really dynamic individuals that put in some time and effort. I wouldn't say a lot, but they would probably disagree with me. But that's what we need, and that's really what we're looking for, to figure out where we should be 5 years from now, where we should be 10 years from now, and kind of set that tone so that we can start moving towards it. And we need your input. I mean, I can draw up a plan, and then you can tell me that I'm clearly in the field. I have no idea what I'm talking about. I should come back to reality, or I can look at the talented people sitting in the room, and those of you that are online, and those that couldn't make it tonight, and ask you, be the leaders, be the steering force of where we're going. So that's really what that was. Tim Mitchell had taken it and really ran with it, and then had some personal change where he was accepted into a advanced degree program and couldn't pass up on the opportunity to do it. Good for him. Hoping that he's going to come back. I know he's still heavily involved with the Ulster County EMS Committee Council, but really want somebody to pick up the ball and run with that. So I'd appreciate it. Next thing that we really have on here, as far as the data usage tag, is there anybody on that? Yeah.
We're going to have a meeting at some point to
Who's
talk
the chair
about.
for that? Some finger pointing. Somebody say not it.
I don't care. I'll do it. I might be the chair, but we want to get together and talk about exactly what metrics we want to get together that would be most useful. So in addition to what we have on our dashboard now, dive into just sit down and just what else would be really useful for us.
Right. Okay. Thank you for sharing that. Anybody that would like to assist with that, just shoot either Karen or Nick an email and let them know you'd be happy to guide it. Because again, you saw just a little taste of what Jeff put up there on the board. Go to the website, look and see what's there. The amount of data that can be drilled down on that is so valuable to your organization. Then you compare yourself to what the region's doing, whether you want to set a quality standard, whether you want to see if there's room for improvement, whatever it is. The data's there, let's use it. So that's really where we're at. Next thing on the agenda item that I have is Putnam County. Just for those there, Mr. Jacobson, I think you're still on the line, which you were. Is he still there? All right, I can't see it. Dave, just so you know.
I'm here.
Not a problem. Just so you're aware, your position on the council had expired. We do have an email from Casey saying that you guys in Putnam didn't get an opportunity to have a meeting and that they will reappoint you when it goes through. I just wanted to let you know that that's there and kind of a wink, wink. Make sure you get somebody to write a letter on the letterhead to send back to us so we can get you back as a voting member and going from there. That's all.
Okay, thank you.
And it looks like you're going to have an opening too, because it looks like Denise may very well have not been able to participate, as a delegate anymore. So that was it. So the next thing is on the new business. I'm going to open it up and kind of start that one. I had referenced it back in my report. What I'm looking for is not to be a dictator, not to be a king or a ruler, but to be the messenger of this council. And specifically, what I'm looking for is we're going to be, when I say we're, David is the delegate to the state council, myself as the alternate. Bill will be there. Rich is usually there. I'm not sure if he's going to be able to attend this one or not. But that is always, and this is the first in-person one that we've had in a while. This is where we get to corner people in awkward conversations where they can't just ignore an email or they can't just walk away. And Bill's giggling because this is when we get to have awkward conversations. Can't weasel out of it. I need to know what is the pleasure of the region and what is the pleasure of the delegates with how hard you want to push on the inaction of the state when it comes to this New Windsor CON expansion.
I think that you should be fairly forceful to the extent that if they don't respond, you go to them and say, look, we're not getting responses. And they say, okay, and don't do anything, take it up even higher in the DOH. At that point, it's impacting our ability to actually manage EMS in this region. So I think that a certain amount of forcefulness is called for, and if they don't respond, be prepared to go even further up the chain.
Thank you. Anybody else?
I think the issue, the council in the history of this whole thing, we wound up setting up support for the expansion of territory. And it went through the legal wrangles, and finally now we have a temporary CON that was ordered by a judge. Okay, I think they should pocket veto it and just say temporary has now become permanent, because I don't think they're going to give us data between me, Rock, and our place. That's just my opinion. But you've got a judge ordering the state of New York to do something. Now, if that judge, her order stand, or his or her order will stand, they need to say, okay, we've granted the temporary injunction or a temporary certificate of need. It's been a year. How has it been working down there? Maybe get a feedback on that, and then just say the state turn around and say it's a permanent CON. That's their probably easiest way to do it.
Other people.
I don't know. I mean, what does everybody else think?
You don't have any option, right? Yeah.
It's definitely an option, but they you can't have your cake and eat it too. They've got to come and make a decision. As bureaucrats, they tend to not want to make decisions, and I understand that, but they do have to come down. You can't leave this thing in limbo. It's not right for New Windsor. It's not right for the region. Like Nick said, we can't properly get EMS administered if we don't have a decision. You're leaving people really in legal jeopardy.
Dave, this is Frank Cassidy. You hear me?
Yes, Frank. Just give me 1 minute. I got other people that are trying to speak. Just 1 second, Frank.
Okay, no problem.
Just as I said, we don't have any options. And we can't issue it. They've got to give us the CON. And if they don't want to, it's like they said, we got to start going above their heads.
I think the judge kind of did.
All right, so hang on a second. So you were up?
Did we temporary order?
No.
So should you go back to that judge to make it a permanent thing?
Well, that's part of what the discussion here tonight is what the best action is. Okay. So Frank was next. I want to let Frank speak.
Dave, I know this council approved this over a year ago. And I think the big important thing here is if we as a council approve things and then the state shoots them down, we've really got to fight this at this point. It's time that you guys, when you go to your meeting, state our reasonings for wanting this and see what we can do about it.
Any other comments? I'm going to save mine to the end. That's where my comments are going to be in, but I don't want to influence this conversation. So, because that's important that I don't. Any other comments from anybody else that's on?
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, the judge that ordered this, is it a Supreme Court judge?
State Supreme Court in Orange County, yes.
Hey, you can hold this Department of, you can hold them in contempt. We have the judge, notify the judge to hold them in contempt. They're not following the order.
Well, they did issue the temporary CON. It's where we're at with making this a permanent
So be
situation.
it. It's still in their hands. The judge can say, hey, it's a contempt order. You didn't follow this order. They're not following what they're supposed to do.
Right.
So I want to put in a point of clarification. That's kind of why I was holding out to the end. So answer kind of everybody's question, and Bill, you correct me if I misspeak here. This right now is in the Transportation Committee's hands. That's where this is at legally. This was remanded back to the region, specifically to the Transportation Committee, to reevaluate and re-vote. Then once the Transportation Committee makes a decision, they then remand that decision back to this council. We then re-vote on it again. Then that decision goes back to the state.
That's correct, but we have not, we've been asking for data from the state and they have not provided it. And in the meantime, a judge stepped in and told the state to issue a temporary certificate of need. So that judge kind of even usurped our authority, okay? Because she said, this is long enough. We had the Article 78, things with the judge in Orange County, Supreme Court in Orange County. Now, from what I understand, that's being appealed up, I believe. I don't know where that's at. But the point is that we do not have the data to make a decision yet because we've been asking the state, Bill, correct me if I'm wrong, for over a year now for this data. And, you know, we're kind of in a quandary as to what their reasoning for not giving us the data.
The state,
Hang on, Glenn. Bill.
the state said that we can't move until they give us the data that we can consider.
Correct.
One of the issues that come up with this is that all CON actions have always been de novo with no new information allowed in. So if it's rescinded back to us and we have to vote on it and we only have the same information that we had when we voted on it initially, it's kind of, I don't know how the vote's going to change. There's nothing, I mean, there is no change, there is nothing there that allows us to change. There's nothing that's going to be a changing factor. So when it was sent back to us from the judge and he upheld the rescission back to us, the state said, we will give you direction and we will give you data that you can consider. And that's what's missing. They have done.
Neither one of those things have happened.
That's correct. And I have emailed them at least once a month since the day it happened. And they have not sent us, not even, well, I wouldn't say they've never acknowledged it. They have acknowledged the email several times saying they will do something soon, but nothing has happened.
Hang on one second.
Second Tuesday of next week.
I just want to clarify that made by Glenn. We did not ask for the data. The state says we couldn't do anything until they supplied the data.
That's correct.
Correct.
The Transportation Committee has done nothing wrong here. I just want to make sure that it's perfectly clear with everybody on this call. The Transportation Committee's hands are tied, waiting for the data and data. And therein lies the problem. where hands are tied, waiting for the data. It's over a year now. Multiple years.
That's why I think that you need to go to Greenberg and say, guys, make this happen. And if they don't, then go up to the Secretary of Department of Health or whoever Ryan reports to. I mean, it'd be not to do that, but to do.
Can we as a council pass a resolution saying we strongly, we've made this, we want this data from you. We need your direction and your data. And that, we're a little pissed that you haven't given it to us yet. I mean, I don't know what we would want to do to say, we're in limbo. The legal people are involved in this, and we got to get something strongly worded to the state from the actual council to say, give us the data, let us do our work so that we can re-vote on it and pass it back up to you, and then it's going to go through the rigmarole again.
That, ladies and gentlemen, is where we're at tonight.
Dave,
Looking for a motion from the council that's seconded, discussed, and approved of how you would like for this to move forward. We can have a conversation, and we can mention the conversation that if we don't get a response within 30 days, that we will be left no choice but to seek alternative methods to seek a resolution. We'll word it, handle it however you want. But what I don't want it to be is putting either David, or myself, or Bill, or Rich, who happens to get this cornered in a conversation, and then all of a sudden come back to the council and go, who authorized you to do that? So that's why this is in front of the council. Decide what you would like us to do.
Dave, has the council had our council reach out to DOH council and advise them that this is all pending? Because if the judge has already ruled on this from a legal perspective, they're obviously involved, and they're the ones that would, that have the timers. Because I believe that CON ends on 12/31.
Again, I'll yield back to Bill. I know we had a conversation with our legal counsel. Outcome of that?
I don't know that we can take it to systems and have them mandate the state to do something. I mean, it's a possibility, but I don't know if they have that ability to. It would be a good step because you want to do this in the right way. Not only politically, right, but we need this in such a way that we actually get something done out of this as well. And so maybe a first step is systems, talking in systems about it's not going anywhere, what can we do? Or reach out to somebody at systems, like reach out to the chair of systems and look for some direction. We can talk to Ryan and just look, this has got to be resolved, or we start moving towards the next steps.
Hey, Dave, this is why we have state representatives. Maybe it's time to reach out to Mike Martucci, who is covering Orange County as well. This guy is very aggressive, and it's time to reach out. This is why we elect them, to help us with situations just like this. Now, I happen to be meeting with Martucci on Friday evening. If I can assist in any way to put him in contact with you, Bill, or anyone else that needs to be involved in this thing, or Frank, I'll do that. But this is why we elect these officials. They're involved in doing these things and rectifying political things just like this.
Well, I think what Dave is looking for, Albie, is a sense of the council so that they can actually act on the council's behalf to say, look, guys, we're to the point now, you haven't given us this information. We're under 1206. We have not been able to do anything to ameliorate this situation based on new data. So we're trying to enable our elected, obviously, council president, vice president, and our executive director to have these conversations with them to say, we are very serious about this. We do not take this lightly, and that we want to get an answer, and to put them on notice that we're serious about this, and they've got to supply us with the data so that we can then go back and revisit this. Whether
I get that. I understand that.
So I think that's
already done that. We've already been there.
He's in looking for an enabling resolution so that they can have an intelligent conversation with these folks, backed by the full faith and credit of the Hudson Valley Regional Council.
Understood.
Right, Dave?
But it's been a whole year. And they're not giving us the info. So what do? Is we go to somebody that can get it for us.
Is there a motion on the floor?
I move that we enable the council officers to speak to the state EMS director and his associates, along with their legal counsel and our legal counsel, to push this thing forward, so and administratively, we can take care of it. That's my motion.
Is there a second? Discussion. David.
I'd like you guys to amend that to include the injury.
Yes.
I didn't hear what you said, David. Sorry.
Can you amend that to include me as a representative?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no, absolutely. That's fine.
The second agrees to the amendment? Okay. Discussion?
Not that I'm against what we're trying to do.
That's why we're having a discussion, but don't break.
Isn't that why we elected you to this, represent this council? So I mean, I'm fine with the resolution, but I don't know the entire purpose of this. That's what
The purpose is to make sure that we're doing what the council wants, and not just simply operating under a couple of opinions and then come back to the council and then go, that's not.
Yeah, who authorized you to do that?
So that's the reason behind it. We want to make sure that we're on board of how we handle this. And again, the question is, as part of this authorization, I'm going to chime in for a second. Do we simultaneously want to allow Albie, or suggest that Albie speak to one of our senators and, plead our case to them and see if there's anything that can be done on a state pressure side.
He is our legislator.
That requires an amendment to the motion and the second. Okay, so just one at a time, so everybody's there. Kelly, loud, so everybody online can hear you. I'm gonna let Bill respond to that because he's the direct contact.
Yes.
But our direct contacts have been to Assistant Director Zero. We have not reached out to any legislators. We have not reached out to any senators. We have not. Ryan is included, is CC'd on those.
It actually started with Dan Clayton, who was the deputy
He's no
director of
longer in that
operations, and he's moved out. So then it went with Steve.
We've been dealing specifically and directly with the state bureau staff. We have not tried to put any legislative pressure on it yet. But it sounds like Albie is, got the ear of a legislator that could very well plead our case for us at a different angle, which, again, I hate to say, sometimes works. I can do two motions. All right. So again, Nick, if you've got your scratch down, if you could read back the motion. Is there any other comments on this motion?
I just have one question. Is this the judge made did the emergency CON? Are we currently right now as a council in violation of Article 30 for not moving forward on this issue? Because if we are, then I suggest that we go with not only the pronged approach that you currently have, but also loop in legal, because otherwise we're going to end up getting sued for not doing anything, even though we can't do anything because we don't have any information. That's my question. That's all.
I'm going to defer that to Rich because he's been pointing on this whole thing. Bill, do you want to help?
I'll take that one.
Okay.
I don't think we're in any risk on Article 30, but I do think that the judge said that it should be rescinded back to us as a council. So I think the first judgment was to send it back, that it was valid to send back. And now they sent it back to the council. The council is sitting with it and has not taken action. So I don't know if it's under Article 30 that we would be any liability, but I believe that we could have some liability by not following this judge's order. And the order is we send it from them back to us, back to the council.
So what would be,
Wasn't that the administrative law judge that referred it back? Now we've got the Orange County Supreme Court judge that gave them the emergency COA. But all of it is, we've been sitting waiting for what the state told us, don't do anything until we give you this data.
The other question is, did the Supreme Court overrule the administrative law judge by telling him to issue a temporary certificate of need? And he may have, who's got the higher authority? The lawyer, you know,
What happened?
or the administrative law judge? And I believe it's the Supreme Court judge, and he ordered, you know, he ordered, she or she ordered to issue a temporary thing. So, you know, we have to, as a council, again, direct our elected council leaders to say to the state, look, you've got a temporary restraining or a temporary CON that's going to expire. You need to supply us with the data so we can comply with the administrative law judge, but more importantly, comply with that Supreme Court judge's decision to issue a temporary CON. And if we come back and say, go ahead and issue the CON, then the state has to go and issue the CON, right? I mean, that's
just a point of order. I'll get to you next. There is no expiration date on the state's
on a temporary one.
Temporary order. There is no expiration. It needs into effect. But again, this is just a shadow that sits on our transportation committee because they can't do their job and they can't look back on it to go from there. So, Bill, I'm going to give you the floor first.
Okay. The administrative law judge was a result of the state, the SEMSCO. And when it went through their process, they recommend that they resend it back to the council because there were certain things that weren't considered and they should have been considered. The council did not, the state council did not, said they couldn't do that. And then I'm not sure what judge it is, and I don't think it was the administrative law judge. I think there was another judge involved, stated that it can be rescinded and that the state should. I believe that was a Supreme Court. Right, said it should be rescinded. It can be rescinded back to us, and it should be. So now we have a court order that says it's been rescinded back to us. We have the Department of EMS, Department of Health, saying that we don't have you will give you the process and the information, and they haven't done it. And then we have a Supreme Court judge that's issued the temporary certificate.
Albie, you're up next.
I don't even know where to begin. Do you hear what we have done? Do you hear yourselves?
I want to be clear on that.
Do you hear yourselves over the last 15 minutes? My opinion is, and of course, my opinion, this is why we have representatives. Their job, I deal with my assemblywoman all the time. She rectifies issues constantly. He or she will look into this matter and get the answers that we need, why we're not getting it all done. This is what they do. So yeah, we have so many things going on with this. The thing is, we haven't got the answer we wanted. It's time to get it. How do you get it? By these representatives that we put into office. That's what they do. You're going to send out letters. It's going to go to Ryan. It's going to go to this. You're not going to get answers for months. It'll be another year. That's the way the bureaucracy is in our DOH. It's defunct. Let's get the representatives to go and do it. That's just me.
Let's get through this vote, Albie, and then I'll be happy to entertain it.
Can I say something?
Yes, Karen, go ahead.
I think that what we deal with all the time when we have these kind of pressures put on us where the state is not answering questions is there's a lot of different spokes that go into that hub. And we need to think about utilizing all of them, because when they hear more than one, like you hear more than one representative, you hear more than one group. You hear the town itself, you hear the people that are being, affected by this. They need to hear from all of that, and also social media, and also the newspapers. These are the kind of pressure that they don't like and they will respond to. And generally that's how it works. And just having dealt with that just now with our town, and we put the pressure from all different angles into that hub. And you know what, that really does make a difference. And I think Albie has a good start, and all of these different representatives that we have, they all have, once they all start talking and putting the information in, the pressure is on, and then they need to respond. And if they don't respond, then it needs to go to a higher level and it has to go back to the court. It's pretty simple when you look at it, but we have to think about it as it has to come from all different angles, because they hear things differently. We don't all hear things the same way. So getting that point across sometimes can be very difficult.
All right, thank you, Karen. I think we're ready for a vote on this. So all those in favor of passing the motion, and I'm going to ask you to just read it back, Nick, so that everybody's clear on it.
Let me see if I've got this right. And please correct me if I'm wrong. Motion is made to direct the region, SEMSCO reps and officers to discuss the lack of state responsiveness with BMS director.
Correct.
Regarding the expansion territory for New Windsor.
Well, wasn't it more of a, is it just for the expansion of Windsor, or is it for?
At this point, that's what we're dealing with, yeah.
That's
Okay.
what this motion is.
Okay, let me just make a note of that. For expansion of New Windsor. New Windsor Con, okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? I'll take a second for that one. Okay, that's gonna move forward. Sounded like there was another motion getting ready to come up on the floor, authorizing Albie to start rattling the pages of our elected leaders. Is there a motion on the floor? No, I'm not making a motion. You're going to make the motion. I'm just saying what it sounded like in the conversation.
What did you say?
I can't make a motion as a president.
Great. Okay, let me make a motion. I move that our legislative chair be directed to discuss with legislators lack of state responsiveness for the expansion of the New Windsor Con.
Seconded? Second. Any questions, comments, concerns? Hearing none. All those in favor? Any opposed? Seeing none, passes.
And Mr. Chairman, what I will do, with your permission, I will contact you to make sure I have the proper talking points, that I do it on behalf of the council.
In your words earlier,
Okay, sir.
the leash is off, Pitbull, go for it. Any other new business?
Motion to adjourn.
I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Sounds like we've got one. A seconded? All those in favor?
Aye.
Gentlemen, thank you very much. Be safe. Thank you for everything you do. Don't forget to thank your members and your teammates for everything they do.
Thank you, David.
Good night, everybody.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you, guys.
Puppies and kittens will die.
What's that?
If the state doesn't respond, puppies and kittens will